The one thought I had listening to this 45-minute speech was, don't we have bigger fish to fry? Like China, like drone warfare, like Russia on the march? I cannot imagine that people's beards rise to the level of dragging all the military admirals and generals into Quantico for a lecture. I'm not understanding this.
Sounds like you're into the beardos.
I don't get it. Somebody explain it to me.
I think you're right. And I think that's the problem. It's unprecedented, it's unacceptable, it's overtly political and partisan. And if you watch that speech, whether you were a general or just someone on TV, you'd think that our enemies are fat generals, the city of Portland, Trump's political enemies, and DEI. And it's a really low point for the division that's supposed to exist between our partisan politics and our military. The shining part of it, the silver lining, if you will, is that the generals kept their military bearing. Yeah. They didn't applaud, they were stoic, and they showed why they are the guardrails that are protecting our military and much of our democracy from what is a very extreme political agenda that from Hegseth sounded kind of like a culture war TED Talk, rather than a proper, respectful address to our senior military leaders.
I want to play a little bit more from Hegseth. This is where he's talking about those pesky rules of engagement.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters.
Troy, I mean, is the argument here, let's go back to like barbarian warfare where there are no rules of engagement, everything goes, you know, no such thing as a war crime, you can do whatever you want? Is that the argument?
So warfare is fundamentally something that is very hard to write down in international law, the law of war. I would say what we heard here today was not a speech for the pundit class or the journalist class or even the generals and admirals in that room. I think it was a speech for the warrior class. And he spoke about the warrior class a lot in his book, on his show, and he's building that military. And by warrior class, he means the few families across this country and the same towns that have, since we become an all-volunteer force, have consistently bore the brunt and the sacrifice, especially in the post-9/11 era, of that service. And I think he's speaking directly to them. And these are the 65% of the veteran population that voted for the Trump-Vance ticket for President Trump.
And
that's what I think
what is the message? What's the message to them? Is the message, again, I think my question is...
The message is come back.
We're
back.
In a concrete way, when he says the stupid rules of engagement, let's also remember that this is the Pete Hegseth who lobbied President Trump to pardon people who were convicted of war crimes. So is that what we're saying? We're okay with war crimes now?
I mean, obviously we're okay with war crimes. We support a country that's committing atrocities right now.
But I mean, the United States military.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying the rules are actually written down. They're called the Geneva Convention. And most of the modern world and Western world abides by them because it's a code of conduct. It's what holds us above the standards of our enemies. But the audience was not the warrior class. It wasn't the generals. It was the TV cameras. It was the base. And maybe it was the world in some way because they wanted to say, look, we have control over the most powerful military on the planet. And there's nothing that the Democrats or the moderate Republicans or anyone else can do. So it was a giant flex of their culture war, of their ideology, of the way they want to reimagine not just the military, but the country. That's really what this was. And that's why I think it's such a low point for our military, because they're again being dragged into some of the most divisive issues of our time.
For over 2 decades, we've been fighting wars to fight them, not to win them. And we need to build a military.
Did you and I not fight to win?
We fought to win, but the politicians and a lot of senior leadership did not fight to win.
Why do you say that?
A lot of those
We didn't have clear goals.
A lot of those senior leaders in the room,
we did not have
decorated veterans who served in
We did
Iraq and
not follow a doctrine that goes in with overwhelming force.
It felt pretty overwhelming at times.
Right, but we stayed there for 20 years, and we abandoned it. We had the fall of Saigon on live TV with people falling out of an airplane.
Troy, are you arguing that there was not the use of overwhelming force when we bombed the crap out of Iraq? Is that really the argument?
No, the argument is that we fought for 20 years. We did take out terrorist networks. We took out the network and the leader who attacked this city in the largest terrorist attack in world history. And we also engaged in nation building, and these were very abstract
But
missions.
how is that a problem with the war? I mean, I'm not understanding. Why is that a problem for the war fighters and not the politicians who decided that the answer to that problem was war, a war that didn't make sense to fight, we couldn't
when
win.
I was governor, I was in Iraq.
That's a political problem, it seems like to me, not a military problem.
When I was in governor, I was in Iraq 5 times, Afghanistan 3 times. We had a chance to visit with lots of troops, including some special operators. And one of their complaints, among others, in terms of the rules and engagement, weren't always war crimes. They weren't advocating for war crimes, Paul, in fairness. They were just saying simple things like, we can't even do particular raids at night in certain compounds or situations. Now, that's a common sense thing. They like the stealthy nature of nighttime raids. But they felt they were being held back in certain circumstances, not all. There were certainly plenty of nighttime raids. And that's just one example. Maybe there are some rules of engagement that could be reviewed and improved upon.
And there's some people who said we want to go into mosques, for example. And there's this kind of twist that if you hadn't been hamstrung by these restrictive rules, we would have won in Afghanistan. We would have won in Iraq. We would have won in Vietnam. That's a reframing of history because there were so many other factors that inhibited our ability to win both the war and the peace. And there's plenty of political blame to go around for leaving us there for 20 years. But the idea that we're not lethal enough in Portland or now in places like Venezuela or Iran where there's no congressional approval, no congressional consultation is a manipulation of the public understanding of what our military does.